Can you believe it was illegal to grow these until relatively recently? The question is why, especially when they're so easy to grow. At first glance, they might look a little bit like blueberries, say, but they are so much easier to grow because they don't require acidic soil. They're easier to harvest than gooseberries, none of those vicious spines, and they are often more prolific than even raspberries. Hi, I'm Ben, and it's time to shine a light on these incredible fruits. If you've never tried them before, you'll be itching to try them by the end of this video. So join me as we plant, prune and pick our way to a delicious crop of currants. So why, you're wondering, were currants banned in America? Well, the answer lies in a disease called white pine blister rust, which is severely affecting the American forestry industry. You see, currants serve as an intermediary host of this fungus. But while the effects on currants are very minimal, the same can't be said for white pines, which will often die from the disease. It seems logical then that currants were banned from sale and growth. But after many decades of a ban, there was little impact on the spread of the disease. So most states have now lifted this ban. Meanwhile, a lot of work is going into breeding white pine blister rust resistant trees, while American gardeners have the delicious prospect of growing a whole new range of fruits. Choose from red currants, white currants, black currants, there's even a pink currant. Currants can be divided into two types. Black currants are the very easiest to grow. They prefer full sun but will tolerate a little bit of shade and will keep cropping for many years to come. You can use their vitamin C rich berries in pies, jams and even refreshing cordials. Red and white currants are grown in a very similar way to the gooseberry bush behind me here, and it's useful to think of them all as the same plant. They prefer full sun, but will cope really well indeed in a partly shaded area. And if you are in a hot climate, it may be worth actually growing them somewhere that's shaded from the really hot afternoon sun. The plants can be grown as cordons, as standards, and grow really well in containers too, making them an excellent choice for smaller gardens. White currants have a sweeter taste, while red currants are perfect for cooking and turning into, say, jams and jellies, or for elevating just about any dessert. All currants prefer a moist, well-drained soil that doesn't get waterlogged. Black currants prefer the soil to be rich and fertile and enjoy a more sheltered position, while white and red currants will cope with a range of soil types. Like most fruits, you'll find currants available as bare root or containerised plants. Bare root plants are just as it sounds, the roots are showing, they don't have a container around them. They're available when plants are dormant from about the end of autumn through to early spring. Now I'm choosing to grow a containerised currant because that's what's available right now in the summer. It's best to avoid planting right in the middle of summer when it's especially hot and dry, because then you'll be a slave to watering. I've chosen a white currant today because the white berries are less likely to be noticed by birds. They think they're underripe and so they maybe give them less attention than they might black currants or red currants. I'm also planting these black currants here. These were cuttings I took almost a year ago and they've sprung out into leaf, and you can tell they've rooted really well because if you look at the drainage holes here, you can see the roots poking through. So they've clearly rooted beautifully and will be keen to get out of that pot, I'm sure. So the area behind me where I'm going to plant this white currant has already been dug over, and I've removed all the weeds, taking a special care to remove all of those wiry roots so they don't re-sprout. If you're a no-dig or no-till gardener, you could just smother the area over with some cardboard and then put some organic mulch on top of that, and then cut open slits, fold open the cardboard and plant into that, which is exactly what I did in the area just behind me over there. Now, to finish preparation here, I'm just going to dig in a little bit of beautiful crumbly compost. Like I said, autumn really is the best time to plant currants, or indeed any fruits really. That's because the soil's still got quite a lot of residual warmth from the summer, so plants will settle in really quickly. If you're on a bit of a budget, then it's worth seeking out bare root plants because they tend to be a lot cheaper. Finish off your planting hole with a handful of general purpose organic fertiliser. I'm just using a bloodfish and bone here. And then just tickle it in before you pop in your plant. Here we go. It's got an all right root system, so in it goes. You want to get the level of the potting mix here level with the soil here. As you backfill the soil, be sure to really firm it in so there's no air pockets in there. Then once you're done, finish off with a really good glug of water to settle everything in. And now for the rooted blackcurrant cuttings, and you can tell from their yellow leaves that they're running out of nutrients in here, and we'll be really pleased to see some fresh soil. Let's pop them out and separate them out to start with. Wow, and you can really see from the root systems here that these are really healthy plants. I'm going to set the blackcurrant a little bit deeper because blackcurrants actually prefer that. And you can see the original soil level here by the lighter coloured wood and then the sort of slightly darker where it's been wetter. It may not look like it now, but currant bushes can grow to quite a good size, so I would leave at least 3 foot or 90 centimetres between your bushes. The currants here I planted last winter. The bushes came with pruned down stems, so I pruned them down a little bit further to about 2 to 3 inches or 5 to 7 centimetres from the ground. What this does is it encourages lots of fresh new growth to help you form a really strong framework to your bush. Other than keeping recently planted bushes really well watered in dry weather to help them establish, the other thing you can do is to give them a mulch of organic material. I've used bark chippings here, and these will eventually rot down to feed the soil and of course the currants growing in it. And then I'm finishing around the currant we planted earlier here with a mulch of well-rotted bark chippings. Keep the mulch away from the main stem so it doesn't encourage it to rot. Top up mulches in spring, but before you do that, just give a little sprinkling of a general purpose organic fertiliser over the surface to keep nutrients topped up and your bushes really thriving. Proper pruning will also help you to get the most from your currants. Do this in winter, removing any dead or diseased branches, as well as branches that are badly placed, for example ones that are crossing and rubbing, or ones that are quite low to the ground that will sag to the soil when they're heavy with fruit. For blackcurrants, you can remove up to 1/3 of the oldest stems at a time, and you can tell these because they're usually thicker and darker than the younger, paler stems around them. This will encourage more vigorous growth and more fruit. Or keep it even simpler and remove just those canes that have just fruited. Then for red and white currants, you want to encourage an open bowl-like shape to the branch framework, so cut any stems that are congesting the middle of that. Then reduce new growth by 1/2 and any side shoots coming off the main stems just down to 2 buds. You also want to keep the short stem or leg that the main branches emerge from clear of any shoots as well. Red and white currants will also benefit from a midsummer pruning, and to do that, simply cut back any side shoot coming off the main stem to about 3 to 5 leaves or buds. I'm going to demonstrate with this gooseberry bush here, but remember red and white currants are grown in the same way, so the same principle applies. We've got our main stem coming up here, and then I'm just going to shorten all of these side growth here to between 2 and 5 leaves or buds. Whatever you're pruning and whenever you're pruning it, try to make your cuts just above an outward facing bud. That way stems will be encouraged to grow outwards from the bush and not into it, which would cause congestion and the conditions that might promote disease. As soon as those currants start to form, do cover your plants with some sort of netting to keep the birds off, and make sure it's stretched in such a way that the birds can't get trapped in it. If you've got lots of fruit bushes, then consider a fruit cage. Harvest them once they've taken up their final colour. Now currants are grouped together in trusses called strigs. You can pick the individual currants off, or a lot easier is just to cut the strig off away from the bush and then separate them once you're back in the kitchen. Currants are really precious jewels that won't last long. They'll keep in the fridge for a few days, but what's a really good positive about currants is that they are an absolute breeze to freeze, and they are magnificent in smoothies or turned into crumbles as well as all those other uses I mentioned earlier. Just fantastic. I hope you're curious to give currants a try for yourself. I reckon that currants are going to become the latest gardening trend, or should that be the currant trend. Anyway, let me know if you plan on growing them in the comments down below. In our next episode, I will be counting down the best superfoods you can grow. I'd love you to join me for that, so do check you're subscribed and have turned on notifications by ding-donging that bell. As always, it's been a pleasure having you along today. Enjoy your garden, and I will catch you next time.